Welcome, fellow travelers. This is Gabriela,
And this is Becca.
and we are here today with Inner Alchemy's Life Code. The essential question we are addressing today is, how do I find my feet when life knocks me down?
Our answer?
Grounding.
Yeah, everybody can relate to getting knocked about by life, right? The shitty boss, the struggling relationship, all the anxiety we feel for our children, the stresses of money, the insanity of politics, and our fear for the planet. We get knocked off our feet every day, many, many times a day. What does it feel like in our bodies to get knocked off our feet, to lose our center? Anywhere on the spectrum, maybe, from a buzzing feeling in our bellies to a heavy dullness of our senses to spiking rage or shallow, rapid breathing. Each one of us has our own way we get knocked off center.
Yes, and sometimes we don't even realize we've been knocked out of our center and we keep going. And we wonder why our whole day feels dreary or heavy. And the way I experience my body now after coming to awareness that I've been knocked off is allowing my body to feel that feeling, whether it's anxiety or if I want to cry. Getting knocked off of your center can take a variety of responses in your body. So, what about you, Becca?
I can always tell when I'm maybe took a hit somewhere where I didn't know. When I start to speed up in my thinking, in my words, in my actions, feeling like I got to do something, feeling, that buzzing sensation. I definitely, when I lose my center, I definitely tend more towards dissociation, so I'll lift up a bit out of my body, and that's another reason why grounding is so important. But there's quite a wide spectrum of feelings, obviously, that I have, and that any of you out there listening might have. But I just want you to invite you to, as you're listening to us talking about this, thinking for yourselves, like, what is it like for me when I get knocked off center? Just so, again, we can just start noticing these things in our own selves.
Absolutely, absolutely. And in our current cultural paradigm, it is very often that we turn to numbing and distraction off when we feel this way. And what do? We go for the cocktail sometimes, or we go for the television or social media shopping, really to avoid feeling that which has impacted us. So even more so, what a way to allow yourself to feel the feelings and then having a solution for it.
Yes. And so, our solution is that we choose grounding when we feel knocked off our feet. And it's a different way to choose to the many, many hard times, hard feelings, and the inflammations that come from just being alive in these current times. And luckily, wonderfully, it's a scientifically proven method that brings you back to your center.
Oh, yes.
To help you reset after upset, to find your feet and plant your roots.
Oh, I really like that. Reset after upset.
And, that's right.
And this is actually coming to mind. They're teaching this in a lot of schools in Europe.
Nice.
Yes, they are teaching how to reset after upset, specifically in kindergarten.
They're doing meditation.
They're doing meditation and mindfulness. So really, this is not anything new. If anything, it's ancient.
That's right.
So
that's right. Yeah, and at the end of this recording, we'll record a grounding meditation so that you can get a really direct experience of what it feels like to do this thing that we're calling grounding. And also we'll be posting our research on grounding and earthing, so you can check that out as well.
I remember when I first started grounding, the many times it took. And for me, a point of anxiety is around the supermarket.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
Have to be in this focused attention and in an environment. Well, I don't have to explain really why supermarkets give me that body sensation.
Well, maybe you do. Not
Well,
everybody
maybe,
might know.
okay.
It might
Or
be
maybe
obvious to
because
you, but
well,
sensory overload.
This is true. So thank you. Yes, it is sensory overload, and I feel there's a lot of information flowing all over the place. Choices. I get overwhelmed by the choices of products. Like
Yep.
that is all the sensory that's coming in. So one of my practices is as soon as I pull into the parking lot, I just get there from the driving, and it's a 20-minute drive. It's not that terrible. And as soon as I get there, I start to breathe. I start to notice how immediately my body's going into the response of, oh, I'm back in this place. And say, it's okay. Absolutely nothing is happening except my body feeling that way, and taking a deep breath and following my grounding. And after so much practice of this, really it has taken practice. I do this and I get there and I can ground a little bit quickly and then go in, and it's not as impactful. It's just not as impactful to my life to go through the process of going to the supermarket and being all like, I ground. It's like, okay, it's actually doable. This is great.
So something that was like really stressful for you before, when you ground before you do it, feels manageable. Like, hey, I can handle this.
Yes, absolutely.
Nice.
So before the upset.
Yes, that's right. It's good. It's preparatory grounding, which is a really good idea.
What about you, sister? Do you have?
Yeah. I mean, I guess the story I'd like to share about losing my feet and then coming back to center through grounding comes during a super intense period of time that I went through over the last year in the process of getting divorced. While my partner and I think, really did a great job getting divorced and not getting into a lot of, raging at each other, we definitely had moments of increased intensity. And I can tell you that the moments that are hardest for me are when somebody's yelling at me, or I feel like somebody's yelling at me. Mm-hmm. And that tends to bring out a lot of my own fear inside. And so that's where I can feel myself like, and I remember so clearly, like, oh boy, my whole body starts to buzz, and I can feel myself kind of almost lifting up a little bit. And I remember in that moment saying, I just need to take a minute and ground right now. So I just stopped the action and said, I just claimed it for myself, like, I need to ground. And so I just stopped and I closed my eyes and I just went to my breath, and I breathed in and I breathed out just as intentionally as I could, and I could feel the quivering in my body, the shakiness, and I just kept breathing. Every time I breathe out, I just imagine that I have roots kind of extending out of my tailbone and my feet. And so every time I breathed out, I would just stretch roots down a little bit deeper. And just that act of doing that with the focused breathing, there was, with maybe, I'd say 10 focused breaths of doing that, I was able to, just that the fear response in me was calmed, and I was able to continue with the conversation from a place of just not being as triggered as I was before. It didn't take the trigger away, but it just calmed a part of me that was really freaked out.
Wow, and to create that type of space in such a delicate situation, it really, really can dictate where things go.
Yeah, well, and that comes from practice, right? Because we just do this all the time.
Let's get a little bit more into actually what's happening with an example of how come it works? How come drawing these breaths down into the ground works?
Okay.
Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, well, the cool thing is that we are electrical beings. We have so much electricity and electrical functioning in our bodies. So, working with the metaphor of electricity is really, really helpful. So in an electrical house current, as you know, there's a grounding rod, and it does two things. A grounded wire both bleeds off excessive voltage in the system, which will help avoid things like fires, and it allows the electrical current to flow so it can power our lives. So similarly to this, when we choose to ground our bodies with our intention, two things happen. We release the excess voltage in the form of stressful energy, tension, inflammation, and at the same time, we stabilize our energy, our mind, our body, and allow our own natural current to flow with greater ease. And we do this by connecting with the earth beneath our feet, either physically or with the quantum power of our focused intention.
Very powerful. It's very, very powerful. And the science behind it has gone into deep research about what happens to physiologically to our bodies, what happens to the decrease in pain and the stress levels. And we really looked at Dr. Sinatra. She co-wrote a book called Earthing, and the anti-inflammatory effects that it has for your whole body and for your whole mental state are really astounding. And they have actually gone on to increase the electrical output and input with devices as well, like mats that you can lay down. And this is something that this is specific to Dr. Sinatra.
Yes.
But the ability to have that connection to the earth is medicine. Is medicine for your body.
Yes. And, we know that it's medicine for our body because we notice what happens to our bodies, in our bodies, when we choose to ground. I mean, I know that whenever I do it, I feel kind of heavier in a good way, like more relaxed. My breath definitely changes and becomes deeper.
My shoulders relax a lot. I feel they don't feel as hot. I can sit up straight a little bit better. So you have all of these noticeable changes.
Yeah, I notice a lot in my thoughts as well, because with the focus of the process of, you have to use your mind to ground. You have to use your intention to do it. And that tends to take me out of the thoughts that might have been like distressing me in the first place.
Right, like in having these conversations with your partner.
Yes.
Or when I'm about to do some choosing in the supermarket.
That's right.
So we have many moments to choose.
Yes, we do. And we've been doing this for a long time, so it's really interwoven into our lives, and it's one of the reasons that we choose it as our first offering to you guys in this Life Code series, because it really is our go-to, like the first thing we do when times get hard. So we use it all over the place, not as Gabby said, preparing to go to the grocery store. We ground before important meetings or events.
Yes, it's very. It creates a different tone if everybody that you're with decides to ground.
Yes.
And you'll notice the difference in conversation, the difference in speed.
Yes.
So that's something to try too.
Yes, absolutely.
So when would we find times to ground?
Well, I mean, we do it in traffic.
Oh gosh, yes.
There's always time to ground when you're in traffic.
When we're heading into a big event.
Yeah.
A work, maybe a difficult discussion.
Yeah. I tend to ground sometimes if I'm just feeling a little bit out of sorts and I'm not really sure why. I ground, and somehow that just brings me back in a better way.
Also, we ground when we feel joyful and alive. Sometimes it's just so bubbly, and you're bouncing around and getting all of that centered back into you to ground, and then come back up, actually creates more of a euphoric feeling. Is in my experience.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Grounding when in joy.
Grounding when in joy can be
when in joy.
Quite ecstatic. Yeah. I also like to ground when I'm feeling confused. When I'm not quite sure what to do, if I'm supposed to do something and I don't know what to do, I ground, and again, it just brings me back to the center.
Yes, many, many times needing a little bit of space between reaction is really my favorite time to ground. If there's something that I know I'm supposed to be responding to a question, or I feel that just sending one quick deep breath all the way down to the earth just lifts the load of that moment. So in times of anxiety, maybe fear, grief,
Yeah, absolutely. And we also, because this is part of our spiritual practice, we ground when we want to connect to the earth, our Mother Earth. So it's a beautiful way of feeling connected.
Yes.
And it's available at all times. So I think about in our teen years when our parents say, "You're grounded." It's like if we only had been taught how to ground, we wouldn't need to be grounded.
No, it would be a compliment. You're so grounded.
That's right.
Wonderful.
Exactly.
Yes. And it turns out this might be the best medicine. We need a stressed out adult.
Yep, exactly.
But I am so excited to get into a little more of how it is to ground and maybe have our listeners join in on the experience.
Great.
So,
all right, sounds
Becca,
good.
would you love to lead us?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Well, the first thing I want to say is, don't take our word for all of this, okay? Come to your own direct experience of how it is for you, because that's really the most important thing. So in order to run this little experiment, okay, I want to invite you to begin by getting a baseline of how you feel right now before you ground. So as you're listening, just take a minute and notice what your dominant emotion is right now. How are you feeling in this moment as you listen? What thoughts are flowing through your mind? What feelings do you feel in your body? Are there any sensations in your body? Just notice broadly, or maybe you just jot down a few words about how you feel, very simply, okay? And then just kind of put that to the side as we proceed, and then we'll check in and see how you feel at the end. Okay, so in this grounding meditation, we're going to be connecting to the trees, because the tree beings are truly the ultimate grounders. And so we can learn how, as humans, to ground by turning to our relatives, the trees, for support. So I want to invite you to begin the meditation by imagining a favorite tree that you might have from now or from your childhood. Perhaps there was one that you used to climb. So imagine this tree, both above and below ground, seeing both the roots and the branches. In this meditation, we're going to be mimicking the trees and using what we know about trees to learn in our bodies how to ground. So say hello to your tree, and now imagine stepping into its trunk. And as you stand in its trunk, feel the tree's roots below you and the branches above you as you stand right in the middle. Now, notice your breathing. Just take a minute and notice your inhalation and exhalation. Just let yourself find your own breathing rhythm as you stand here in your tree. Now, on the next inhalation, I want to invite you to feel all the way down to the end of the tree roots with your mind. Just use your imagination. Feel all the way down to the end of the tree roots. And then when you inhale, feel all the way up to the base of your trunk. And so just do a few breaths, allowing your imagination to travel down the roots to the end of the very rootlets. And then as you breathe in, imagine yourself traveling all the way up the roots to the base of your trunk. So now that you have a sense of the tree roots that you're connecting to, I want to invite you to imagine sending your own roots down along the path that the tree roots follow. And again, you can be so creative with this. You can use whatever color you like. Notice whatever color you would want your roots to be. How thick are they? How thin? Are these lateral roots? Do they go out to the sides? Are they deep tap roots? With your imagination, you are developing a relationship to your own roots. And that you can play with this. Which roots feel best for you? Just take a few minutes and breathe in and out, up and down your root channel. Long, slow breaths, just breathing up and down those beautiful roots. And on your next breath in, I invite you to breathe all the way, these roots, the energy all the way up your whole body to the top of your head. And then as you breathe out all the way down to the tips of your roots. Again, long, slow breaths in and out. And on the next breath then, breathe in the calm, cool, grounded energy of the earth all the way up your body. Feel it penetrate all your cells and visit your organs, visit all your muscles. This beautiful, calm, cool, grounded energy. And when you breathe out, allow any tension or anxiety that you feel in your body to travel out those roots. Take a few minutes and breathe in and out in this way. And after a time, come back to your center and notice how you feel. Check into your body. Check your thoughts and your emotions, your physical sensations, and compare to the notes on your state before you grounded. And notice, how do you feel? Do you feel the same or do you feel different? And so with that, you've run your first experiment on grounding. And we invite you to practice it and play this game anytime you can in all sorts of ways.
Oh yes, that was a lot of fun. And what came in at the end was to ground is to replenish yourself without effort.
Ooh, I love that. That's great.
So with that, we leave you to consider, share, experience, practice. To ground is to replenish yourself without effort. And thank you.
Lovely.
See you next time.
Thanks so much.